So for our Space Marine 2 layout and how I have mine set up, now I do run mine a couple different ways. So if you are somebody who just uses two paddles, I'll tell you what I use on two paddles as well. But like if I'm getting really sweaty, I'm usually running four paddles and going with this setup right here to where I never have to really take my fingers off the joysticks for any reason. But I'm an old school gamer, so I kind of grew up holding my controllers in a certain fashion. So when the paddles came out, I really didn't go to them right away. It took me a while, and then when I did go to them, two was always way more comfortable than four. So if I'm like in a long gaming session, I usually just, if it's not competitive, I'm just gonna like disregard the benefit of having the other two, just so my hands aren't getting super tired and things like that. So when I have two paddles on the back, you are going parry on the left and switch weapon on the right. Now you could go reload on the right, but if you're taking advantage of your faster reloads to switch to your secondary and back to your primary, like halfway through your reload, then you're going to want to put your switch weapon back there so you don't have to come off your button down to your D-pad or anything like that, because that makes it a lot slower. If you have it on the back, you can really almost 50% and you're reloading your stuff almost every time, because it's just a lot faster that way, and you don't have to take your finger off the right or the left joystick. So just very beneficial in that manner. So like I said, that is how I like to run it with two paddles. And as you see on the screen, this is four paddles right here, all about keeping your hands on the controller as long as possible, and just try to find something that's comfortable for you as quick as possible and stick with it, because you don't want to be, obviously, I'm sure a lot of people don't, but you don't want to be switching in and out of different crazy loadouts and stuff like that, because it's mostly all about muscle memory, and you're gonna lack it if you're just switching back and forth between all kinds of crazy stuff. Because at first, actually, I had my controller set up to where X was my melee button, but I had to go back to their original setup because the assault, I felt like taking my finger off of the right joystick while I was the assault, and trying to do his ground pound was like almost impossible to do, having it as my melee as an X button. So I did kind of like that setup, and I would say, if you wanted to swap your RB and your X button, you just have to go into your mapping sections and you have to literally swap those two, because the game won't let you switch them. So you would swap RB and X, and then you could have X for melee, but you can't really do that as the assault. So most other classes can do that. If you're new to the game and you're wanting to try something different, you don't like RB being your melee, switch it to X if you're not the assault, and you might like that better. But if you're going to switch to the assault eventually, man, just might as well stick with how they have it set up. And the other bad thing about is how they do have it set up is a lot of these controllers have bumper problems. This has serious bumper problems, the Series 2. So that is a big reason why I ended up picking up the GameSir here, so I didn't completely just wear out my bumpers on the Series 2. I've already went through like 3 of those Series 2. I've had the original Series 2 black model. That one I got stick drift and the bumpers went bad. And then it was mostly stick drift on the first one. And then I had a white core model that was, like this, but white. And then I got this blue one right here about 6 months ago. And I'm already noticing, well, look I was noticing the RB messing up on this. And then I seen something online that I never seen before, that if you hold your trigger down, it opens up a little gap. I don't know if you can actually see it, but it opens up a little gap right here in between your bumper and your trigger. And there, when you see that gap, blow some compressed air in there, and it will actually. I used it on my white core. This one right here. This thing has been broken, for months already. The right bumper, it was very inconsistent, and I seen that online today, and I tried it out, and the bumper seems to be working on this now. So if it was that easy, that's insane. I've never tried it, just because right when I looked that problem up, when I had the problem, everybody was saying their right bumper was breaking. So I was like, oh, this is a mechanical thing for sure. But it could be as simple as that. I don't have I have limited testing because I just did that today and it worked. But after a couple months, maybe I'll make a video, and if that fixes it, I'll make a video on it so people can just have it, I guess. But if you're looking for a budget controller, go with this GameSir HE, right here, this one. Go with the HE, not the SE, the HE. I don't even know, where am I at? Right here, the HE. So it's like $50, and Hall effect joysticks, and then mechanical buttons, which is crazy. Listen to these buttons, which that is, they feel really nice. They really do. Just Like, listen to my mouse. You know what I'm saying? That's pretty close. These are very nice. The triggers I like better on the series, and then the paddles I like better on the series too. But you gotta understand, this thing is like, if you're buying the model that you really want is the more expensive model because it comes with all the attachments. It's like 150, $170. This thing is $50, man, and it's coming with the you get two paddles on the back. So you'll have the two paddles for your switch weapon and your parry. And like I said, most of the time, even when I have access to four paddles, I'm still using two paddles. So, like I said, this is the layout that I like to go with. I think it works out pretty good. And anybody looking for to get a new controller, and if they're thinking about getting just a regular Xbox controller, I would really look into this, and maybe watch some reviews from some people that know how to review controllers. I'm not one of them. Oh, and another thing with this controller, man, the latency is 100% faster. Like, I set this up on to the 1000 hertz mode on the PC, and then I switched to my Xbox, and no controller on the Xbox switches. This one somehow it stays saved from your PC over to your Xbox. I'm 100% sure. I put hundreds of hours in the Space Marine 2. I know how long when I hit A to dive, how long it takes. You know what I'm saying? I'm hundreds of hours in, and it's like fresh hundreds of hours. So I know how this game reacts when I'm hitting a button. So it is definitely, I don't know what they did, but the latency for sure is faster on this controller. It's faster than the series. It's faster than any controller I've ever ran on the system, honestly. So I have no idea of, like, because most of the time your latency from your PC, when you switch a controller, the Xbox never picks it up. It has some of the worst latency on any of the consoles. It has very bad. I'm not, if I, definitely compared to like PlayStation, the latency is bad on this thing. You can't overclock a controller and then bring it over here for some odd reason. But with this controller, I'm telling you, for some reason, it does work. So GameSir HE, the SE is the old model, and I don't think that model has like the mechanical buttons. And honestly, it's only $5 less. So that model I've never used. So maybe if you want to look up both and you don't like mechanical buttons, then maybe that might be it, because that one will have probably membrane buttons, but it still has Hall effect joysticks in it. And the D-pad on this is pretty nice too. But it's just okay. It's nothing great, but it does feels okay. Triggers and the bumpers, they feel okay. Like I said, they're not great either. No trigger stops and stuff like that. But for $50, I would check it out, guys. And yeah, and if you do pick that up and you only have two paddles, like I said, go with parry and switch weapon. And parry mostly because then you don't have to let go of your L trigger, and you're staying in. This definitely helps when you're the heavy, because then you're staying in your heavy stance and you're able to parry directly out of your heavy stance. And right after your parry, you're never letting go L trigger, so you're going right back into your heavy stance. So that's where it is most beneficial, but it is honestly beneficial on all the characters in general.